This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi everyone, Rusty back here with your latest Meteo Mundo forecast. I hope you had a great weekend. Coming up, I'll get you caught up on kind of what's happening the remainder of our Sunday and get you prepared for the week ahead as well. I've got my Escapees shirt on. I'm a big fan of escape games. That's something huge here in the United States. I don't know if it's offered in your area, but if it is, drop it in the comment section below if you enjoy the escape games. Also, thank you very much for those of you who continue to provide me updates from where you live. You know, I'm covering a lot of ground here in the Caribbean, the Bahamas, and I love to get those kind of ground truth reports. It helps me in the details in the forecast as we go throughout the day. Let's start off right now with what's happening across the visible satellite imagery, and you want to help support the channel, want these daily forecasts. Thank you for liking the video. Again, beautiful visible satellite presentation here. We're beginning to lose the sun as we go through this late Sunday afternoon. Relatively fair weather for the Caribbean for today. We did have a few showers blow up in portions of Hispaniola in the Puerto Rico area, the northern side of the Leeward Islands. We did have some heavier rain come through portions of Nicaragua and Honduras there. And then we have some interesting features happening in the Gulf of Mexico. And it's going to be the Gulf of Mexico that we'll be watching a lot over the week ahead because, again, we're now getting cold fronts that'll be moving into the area, and that's going to provide some heavier rain opportunities as well. If I put the fronts on here, on this display, there's actually a warm front lifting north right now through Florida, but then on the western side of the Gulf of Mexico, we still have a cold front with another one behind it. Those are the blue lines that you're going to see, and eventually down in the southwest Gulf of Mexico, we are going to get some moisture to develop here, and this will all be moving in, and with that front coming in and dropping that rain to the south, that's going to start to provide a better opportunity for some showers and storms in places like the Bahamas, the Yucatan, portions of Central America, and even the Northwest Caribbean. And then the remainder of the Caribbean, there will be at least some moisture to play with to give us the opportunity for some rain as well. So let's switch over to our enhanced satellite imagery here. And again, kind of taking a look at what's happening. There is still some rich tropical moisture in the Pacific, that Pineapple Express, we call it, that I'll be watching to see if it feeds over Mexico and how much of that will influence the rain chances moving into the Gulf and then eventually dropping off towards the south. But again, you can see several cold fronts in the United States dropping down with the moisture content there. Now, in the remainder of the central and the eastern sides of the Caribbean, again, it's been relatively quiet. We've had spotty rain here and there. One of the areas that's had a little bit more rain is in Trinidad. They've had some heavier downpours there right off the mainland. You can see those showers developing here on this Sunday, but you get as far north as Grenada towards Barbados and St. Lucia, not nearly the opportunity for rain, at least in the shorter term. All right, so let's see how this is going to be playing out here. Let's take a look at the model here over the next several days. We'll throw this into motion and then look at some of the specifics as we go through the week. So again, what's going to be happening is we're going to see a series of fronts moving through the Gulf of Mexico, each one a little bit more substantial. Again, the first one never really made it any farther south than South Florida, then lifted back north as a warm front. But the next two on the way for the week ahead, they're going to have a little bit more oomph. We're going to have the opportunity for more rain to drop farther off towards the south, and especially for portions of the Bahamas and then into the Yucatan as well. So here is future track again, the remainder of this Sunday, and not much left of it, but as we get into our Monday, we'll start to see the first front kind of begin to fade a bit. But I want you to notice again the rain developing in the southwest Gulf of Mexico, and that's going to be a big moisture maker. So look at that rain kind of sneaking back towards the Yucatan, places like Cancun and Cozumel. And then as we get towards midweek, we'll have some rain in the Bahamas. And then here comes our secondary system. Look at that moisture pickup, move through the Straits of Florida. And then as we get towards Friday here, much better opportunity to see some heavier rain in portions of the Northwest Bahamas, like Freeport and the Nassau areas there. So again, that's something that I'll be monitoring through the week. But certainly for the Bahamas and portions of the Northwest Caribbean and the Yucatan Peninsula, we're going to have some better rain chances as these series of fronts continue to work their way into the area. It's going to be kind of on and off as far as the rain chance. I don't expect these rain chances to be with us every day, but as these fronts move through your area, absolutely that opportunity. So looking at right now, we'll start off with the Yucatan here. So again, as we get into Tuesday, pretty good chance for showers for Cancun and Cozumel. Wednesday, the rain is still around. Thursday, it fades a little bit. And again, depending on where this big moisture plume goes, if it drops farther off towards the south, places like the Yucatan and the Cayman Islands and Jamaica have a better opportunity for rain. But right now the model kind of shoots it more east, right across the Straits of Florida there, towards the Keys and the northern side of Cuba, and then really ushers in some good rain chances over towards the Bahamas as well. So again, as we get into Friday here, look at that rain developing and moving into places like Freeport and Walker's Key and the Bimini area. And by the way, as well, especially for the Bahamas, we're gonna have a good breeze coming in the next few days as well. Okay, let's see what's happening in the rest of the Caribbean here. We'll go back out, and again, the moisture is going to be a bit more limited here. Let me switch over to the satellite imagery real quickly here, because I want to show you guys that when I put on this satellite imagery and we look at the water vapor imagery in the upper levels, obviously, again, you're looking at a lot more moisture to play in our northern and western areas. Relatively speaking, at least for the short term, we have drier air in place for the central and the eastern sides of the Caribbean. So for Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, the Leeward Islands, the ABC Islands, all relatively dry. Now, we'll talk more about what's happening in Central America coming up, because there's a nice little moisture feed coming in from the Pacific. But again, the setup is more isolated rain for these areas for the week ahead. Doesn't mean we won't get some downpours, doesn't mean we won't have the potential for some heavier rain, but just overall, there's not a lot of tropical moisture coming in. So this is going to kind of be the rain that develops in the each and every day time frame, and it'll be pretty spotty in nature. So we'll look at what's happening in Hispaniola and Puerto Rico right now. And again, you'll see some rain mainly moving in from the east. It's going to be spotty in nature for San Juan and Santo Domingo, but of course, we could still use some dry weather even in the Dominican Republic, this far out from where they had that flooding. We just need to keep those water levels lower. Isolated rain again for the northern side of the Leeward Islands and the U.S. and British Virgin Islands and Anguilla on over towards Road Town, St. Thomas, St. Croix, St. Kitts and Nevis, Guadeloupe. Spotty rain, but again, I wouldn't anticipate a lot of heavier showers in your area. It's something I'll be monitoring for the week ahead, but what I would call this forecast is many dry hours and locations. Getting down towards Trinidad, again, a little bit more in the way of some rain lately. We've had some good downpours today across the island, at least in some areas. Will dry out a bit for us here, and again, over the next 5 days, it's more spotty rain. Pick up a little bit better chance for some showers there compared to some of the areas to the north. ABC Islands about the same, Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. I do expect some opportunity for showers, at least through portions of the midweek hours, and you can see a little bit of that rain trying to flare up for tomorrow as well. Nothing is going to be very significant there. Now, it does change, though, with some heavier downpours through portions of Central America. You can see that right now. Let's pause the model and kind of take a look at the time frame here. So again, we've had some heavier sets up of rain. First of all, there's just more moisture overall in the Pacific that's feeding into Central America. So from Panama City towards San Jose, then up towards Managua there in Nicaragua, and Tegucigalpa in Honduras, the opportunity for a little bit in the way of some heavier downpours, especially along the coastline, but even towards Managua, I think we could get some decent rain. We'll take a look at the totals over the next 5 days coming up as well. But again, for those areas I just mentioned, pretty good shot to see some rain in those areas. Now, you start getting into northern sides of Nicaragua and Honduras, and then up towards Belize and Guatemala. They're kind of in between the two systems, so not a lot of rain for those areas. But as you get farther north into the Yucatan, then you start to see those Gulf of Mexico systems become a bigger factor with some heavier rain there. For the Cayman Islands and for Jamaica, these are the two areas, I think, with the biggest question marks as to how much rain you're going to get over the next 5 days. Relatively speaking, the air is still dry in your area. Notice there's a few showers coming into Jamaica here early to mid in the week. But then the question is, does any of that moisture from the Gulf work its way that far south and east? I think you guys could use a little bit cooler weather as well. And you can just kind of see, again, especially up towards the Cayman Islands, yeah, as we get towards Thursday and Friday, maybe a bit more in the way of some rain. For my friends in Kingston and Mandeville and Negril, I don't see a lot. You're more than likely going to be kind of in between those two areas. So daily rain is a low end chance, but any big moisture coming in, I just don't see it at this point in time. Mainly speaking here, I think we're going to have a relatively dry forecast over the next few days. Okay, let's take a look at the total precipitation possibility here. So I'm going to switch this model out. We're just going to basically look at one long time frame here. This would be the rainfall totals over the next 5 days. And if you take a look at the legend up top, the purples and the pinks are a couple of inches of rain. You get towards the whites and the grays, and that's when you start to see a little bit more in the way of some significant showers. We'll start off right now in the Bahamas. And again, you can see some of that heavier rain potential there. I'm going to extend the model out all the way. There we go. And then here we'll click on and see just how much we could get. So Marsh Harbor, maybe a little bit of around 1 inch of rain. Freeport, 1/2 inch of rain. Andros on over towards Nassau. Zoom in a little bit here, show you where Nassau is on the map. About 1/2 inch of rain, slightly higher chances as you get down from Eleuthera south, maybe a bit more than 1 inch of rain in some of the areas towards Georgetown. It dries up a little bit as you get towards the Turks and the Caicos there, not more the way of some spottier showers. It's about the same for Cuba. Sorry about that, it's a little bit too far off to the east. About the same for Cuba and Puerto Rico, again, San Juan, maybe about 1/2 inch of rain. Now again, could there be locally heavier downpours? Absolutely. Then a slightly higher rainfall total. It's just kind of sneaky to the eastern sides of the islands like Dominica and Guadeloupe and Martinique and those areas. We could get just a little bit more rain there. Same thing for St. Lucia, but I expect it to be very spotty. Very spotty as far as the heavier rainfall totals. Now you start talking about a little bit heavier opportunity for some rain. And you can see around Trinidad, you've got that opportunity for a few inches of rain, isolated heavier downpours, slightly drier towards Tobago there. But again, farther south, a little bit better opportunity. Not a lot of rain for Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. On over towards the Central American area, and that's where we start to see the possibility of some really heavy rain on the eastern coastline, on the Caribbean coastline of Central America. Look at those rainfall totals, bullseye off of the coastline of Costa Rica, 5, 6, 7, maybe even 8 inches of rain. That's something I'll be monitoring for the week ahead, but obviously there's some rich moisture there in the Southwest Caribbean from Panama City, the Caribbean coastline of Panama on over towards Costa Rica. It does dry out a bit as you get inland into Nicaragua and Honduras, but still some decent rainfall totals right along the actual coastline. Then you get as far north as places like Roatan. You know, there's your 1.5 inches of rain, some good downpours there. St. Pedro Sula looks a little bit drier. Again, right along the coast of Belize, we could get maybe 1 inch or 2 of rain in Belize City, and then up to course into the Yucatan. Again, this is where I expect there to be the opportunity for some heavier downpours. So Cancun, Cozumel, 2+ inches of rain. Anyone having travel plans in the Yucatan for the week ahead, it could be relatively wet, especially towards the end of the week. Then look at that rain bullseye in the southwest Gulf of Mexico. Again, I mentioned a lot of moisture coming in to the southwest Gulf, and we'll just have to see as that moisture moves east exactly where it's headed. Right now, the model doesn't show a lot of rain heading towards Jamaica and the Cayman Islands, but that could change for the week ahead as well. That is something that I'll be closely monitoring. Now, as far as the winds go, again, this time of the year, we can get a good push of wind to be dropping off towards the south. I want to back this up just a little bit here to show you what's going to be happening by midweek. You can see some of these stronger winds coming in with our cold front. So we could get some very windy conditions through the Gulf, the Yucatan, and portions of the Bahamas. So let's swing over to the wind here. This is going to be the wind gust product, and we'll look at this over the next 5 days as well. Most of my focus is going to be on the Southwest Caribbean, the Southwest Gulf of Mexico, and then what happens with this next front. Now, is this going to be, tropical winds? No, but these could be some very gusty conditions, kicking up the surf and sea conditions in these areas, especially for portions of the Yucatan and the Bahamas as well. So it's going to be pretty windy conditions. And you can see that next front driving in towards the end of the week with even more wind. So it's just going to be kind of a breezy forecast there. You can see again in the Southwest Caribbean, we're going to have some winds that are going to be over 20 knots. Same thing for the Southwest Gulf of Mexico from time to time, and then back towards the Bahamas. It'll pick up a little bit in the nature, but again, a good breeze there. Lighter winds, relatively speaking, for my friends in the Leeward and the Windward Islands, the Lesser Antilles in general. Puerto Rico, again, could be some good breeze picking up towards Aruba early and then moving off towards the west. So that's kind of the broad brush look at what I expect over the next 5 days, friends. Again, several areas to keep a close eye on for some heavier downpours. And again, we'll continue to monitor that. And you can continue to monitor us across all of social media as I get off the screen. Follow us on Instagram, on TikTok, Facebook. And of course, you can email pictures and videos to myMediaMundo@gmail.com. Thanks a lot again for liking the video. If you want to continue to see these updates, help to support the channel, subscribe if you haven't as well. And I'd love to hear from you. You got a specific question about the forecast, just drop it in the comments section below. See you tomorrow, friends. Have a great one, and we'll see you soon right here at Meteo Mundo.